fiction, science fiction, horror, fantasy, crime, LGBT, thriller.
You have now entered the House of Mystery.
Welcome back into the House of Mystery. I'm Al Warren. Got Mr. Dave Chappelle here.
Dave Chappelle?
Dave Chappelle Martino.
Oh, where'd that come from?
I don't know. You know, this
Dave
mind.
Chappelle.
I can never figure out what's going on in this mind. It's been a long day already. Come on. Going to be easy on this old guy. But,
It's okay, Al. We'll be gentle.
I know. Be gentle. Jack Reacher.
Yeah.
Have you watched season 3?
Yeah, I watched it all. Liked it.
Yeah. You're happy.
I'm happy.
You want a season 4
That was good. Did you like it? Oh, yeah, I'd take a 4th season, yeah.
I really like him, but I only watched the first episode.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah. I've been real busy with work. Some of us work.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have time to go through all the...
You can't be like us common people.
Yeah, I can't be like the common people.
No.
Somebody's got to,
Somebody's
work.
got to, keep the lights on.
Yeah, someone's got to pay for all the work.
Well, you got me down in the basement of the House of Mystery, and, all there is the small little, box TV
Well,
and some crackers, so that's what I do.
yeah, salted crackers this time.
Salted crackers, which is better, but then, I need water. And
Yeah. I saw you were up in that, you were one of the astronauts in that flight.
Yes.
How was that?
That was invigorating.
Yeah. I saw you had a little flower when you came down and you kissed the ground, and
That's it. Yep. If you go up that high, you got to kiss the ground.
so you're
So
an
important.
astronaut now.
The astronaut, I'm going to add it to my list.
Yeah, you got to put that on your social
My
media.
bio, and yeah.
Astronaut.
Astronaut.
Yeah. Well, so boy, I tell you. Speaking of astronauts, we've got one with us.
Oh.
And we're going to talk about her writing and about a big project she's got coming up. And the book we're going to talk about is Cursed by Fear. And it's a Little Red Riding Hood retelling, and not the one that Grandma told you, okay? So, D.C. Gomez, thank you for being here.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you guys doing today?
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Dave just made it back from his space flight. And yeah.
I love it. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
He's doing good. He's back with a whole new perspective on Earth.
Yes. I feel connected.
Oh,
The world.
Yeah. He was going to sing one of his hit songs when he was up there, but
Yeah, it was.
he forgot the lyrics. So
Yeah.
anyway.
It's tough.
So what's going on in DC's world? What's happening here? You did this book, and this is Once Upon a Curse, 9 books, and it's part of that series. So what is that series all about?
So this series is, we have 9 authors or more 9 books from different pairs, and is all about fairy tale retellings. And most of them come with a twist, if you want to kind of looking at it that way. It's authors taking on traditional fairy tales that most people know and kind of spinning them around. I had a blast playing with the idea of Little Red Riding Hood. And what if, Little Red Riding Hood was not as good as we thought? What if Little Red Riding Hood was actually more, a little bit demented, a little bit of serial killer, assassin, if you want to call it that. So I got to kind of really have fun in this series. I got invited by a dear friend. And the catch with it had to be a retelling. It had to have some spice. And it just can be of anything I wanted. So I got to really kind of dig into my Reaper's universe with a serial killer action-packed adventure, which is really fun, especially in a collection of stories that most of them were based on romance. So I had a lot of fun.
So turning this into a serial killer book was a lot of fun. Wow. So this isn't for kids then.
This is definitely not what I would call for kids' story, unless you let your kids, read grim adventures and fairy tales, and they will probably love it. So depending what they enjoy, this is more of an adult. It does have some sexual scenes in there, which is something I'm normally not writing. So I got to explore different topics and genre that normally are not things that I tend to write about. So I think that's the fun about it. As an author, anytime you get to expand your horizons and try different things makes just the creative process different and exciting. And it keeps you on your toes because you never know what these stories are going to end up being. Like, I knew I wanted to do a retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. I didn't know exactly how the entire picture was going to come about into the end. And it has a quite of a twist that most of my readers are just shocked by it.
So each writer wrote a different book. Am I understanding that correctly? This is a full novel, not like a series of short stories.
That is correct. It is 9 full novels, and they're all written by different authors, different fairy tales, different themes. So if you enjoy fairy tales, this collection is just going to kind of give you those twists and turns of your favorite ones just turn on your head. I think mine is probably one of the ones that's a little bit more outside the box, since the Little Red Riding Hood and the Wolf are a little bit more of a shift in terms of what we're used to.
Wow. So what is it that when you take on a story like this, how do you go about, what's the first thing you do? How do you plan this?
I do a lot of, anytime I do anything in my fantasy world, which is urban fantasy, takes place in Texas or has basis of the supernatural, I usually start with what if. What would happen if you added this premise into the world that you currently have? And kind of going down those rabbit holes. Somebody asked me what was the inspiration for this. So for anybody who's seen Men in Black, like the very original one with Will Smith, and he's trying out for the organization. He's in the shooting range and he has all the monsters and he ends up shooting the little girl with the books. And they're like, really? That's the one you pick? And he's like, come on, she looks suspicious. Just take a look at where she's at. Is she carrying all these books that are outside her range? So that concept of like, what if the things that we think are normal are just outside of what normal should be in those settings, and how would that actually play out in a story? And kind of give you a little bit of a cat and mouse. You have the chase, you have them trying to find the serial killer, and then trying to learn what drove her to that extent is kind of what the book's all about.
Are you able to get into the mindset, the head of that killer? And how do you do that?
So when it comes to that, I usually look at the fears and motivations of the killer, not so much the killing itself. I'm not one who enjoys very gruesome scenes, so you're not going to get the blood and gore that most people are traditional with horror. I'm usually looking at what drives an individual to those categories. So I got to explore the story behind her and why she's there, and what drives her to there. And, in her mind, I think most villains think they're somebody's hero. And that's what she's doing. She's in her mind, she's feeling like she's protecting someone. So she will do whatever it takes to protect this person, to the point of being extremely sick. So when you're looking at it from the humanity side of what could possibly drive this individual to commit these things, you kind of go down those rabbit holes. I'm not a believer that every character is 100% good or 100% bad. I always find there's different layers in it. And depending on those layers is when you can explore.
Well, is there a literal wolf or werewolf in the book, or is it more, maybe you can't even tell us?
There are werewolves, if that makes, so it is supernatural in that essence. So you do have shifters that she's targeting in this obsession of hers. Why? That's kind of where the end of the book takes you there. Like, what drove her to do those things?
Is this personal experience?
Oh, God, no. Very lucky that no, not at all.
Oh, just thought I'd check. Maybe this is some of your life story. You're doing a biography or...
I get that question a lot, especially when you start writing. People's like, is this based on your actual life story at this point in time after many books? I'm like, no, it's just something that I was curious, and you just kind of explore that topic and see how it plays out in the whole spectrum of this universe.
So when you write these characters for, like, say, this book, and you compare it to your other books that you write more regularly, is it the same process for you?
Usually it is. I'm very much of an outline kind of writer. So I tend to start with a what if or a premise, or even what the inciting incident for my stories are. And then I just develop my outline as a whole. And then I go back and write the story. So those tend to be the same. The difference when it comes to mystery and serial killers is I need to know who did it at the beginning in order to actually pull this off. And I think that's something most people don't realize is in mysteries and, even cozy mystery or whatever you're looking, anytime you have a killer, anytime you have a point of this big, you have to know that before you write the book, or else it might not work out at the end. So I knew from the very beginning her story and how I wanted the book to end, or how it should end. So then I was able to kind of create that path, or at least let the characters lead me in that direction.
Well, you create a series outline, an outline, as you said. I was just wondering if you also create a series Bible, or if you have ways to make sure that within the novel, whether it's a standalone novel like this one, or if you're writing in a series, if you have some tools or any processes that you go through to make sure that everything stays consistent.
I usually keep them very old school. I have tons of index cards that tend to describe my characters in the universe. For this universe specifically, because it's my Reaper's universe, and it's based on the four horsemen of the apocalypse, there are certain rules already in place that I have to make sure I don't cross. Like, there's certain rules that interns can't do. I have to keep my magical world in place so I don't violate anything. I'm very also lucky that I have a developmental editor that actually her main job is to make sure that we keep the rules in place throughout all the books. So she gets to go back through all the different novels and be like, okay, you said this in this novel. Is it carrying through? To make sure the timelines stay the same. Because in this universe, there's about 4 different stories going on at the same time. So making sure that if I move a character to visit in this book, when they go back to their regular story, that makes sense how they fit in, and it's just not some random drop in and drop out.
And how do you write the dialogue in this?
This one is specifically for this one is very fast because there's so much action in this book. I do lots of banter. I do lots of snarky characters, so they're all quirky. There's tons of back and forth, and it tends to be very fast paced, especially because we're on a time crunch. Bodies are dropping. There's people disappearing. And they don't have a lot of time. So you have that extra layer of tension that comes when crisis happens to humans. So you have a very fast pace. I enjoy my dialogue inserted in between my action. I think it makes everything a little bit more fast and more intense, especially for the readers, because they get to have a very immersed experience. There is a lot of characters in this book. While you don't have to have read my previous books, you do have a lot of moving pieces, which makes it really exciting for people, especially if they enjoy an action-packed adventure.
So when you say action and action-packed adventure and stuff, how violent would it be in a 1 to 10? And the same as you said, you're writing, it's killer and sexual and stuff like that. So, and it's different for you. So what level would you put it at for these sort of subjects?
So violence in terms, we do have dead bodies. There is not the gruesome, I guess, if you're looking between CSI and Saw, it might be closer to CSI. You have much more of the theory behind, somebody died, but you're not going to see, blood and, the whole entire gruesome experience of torture. That's not something you're going to get. You're not going to see the solved pieces of torturing people. That's not that book. You do understand that I think we got gunshots, you have stabbings and poisoning kind of things. So that concept. In terms of the sex, this is not going to, she's more of a Black Widow than a romance novel. There's not, to some extent, I think, that built up of like heat and kind of romance situation that most people are used to. That's not it. We know they're having sex, they're going to die, we're moving on. So it's more of on a scale from 1 to 10, I want to say probably like a 4.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, not that. What was the hardest part about writing this book for you?
It is multiple points of view. So it was switching between the points of views and making sure that they all have a cohesive narrative, if that makes any sense. I was writing my villain, and my editor said, the ending came out of nowhere. So I had to go back. She's like, I need something in between here from her perspective to give us some hint of why she's doing this. So I went back, added a whole chapter. My husband read it and he was like, you gave me too much. And I was like, oh, okay. So having to go back and pull some of those pieces out to fit in a very nice middle ground. I needed to hint at her motivations and her object of desire and what triggered her without telling you who the actual turning point for it. So yeah, so I had to do a whole bunch of that maneuvering and managing just because the ending comes with a big reveal. Had to kind of trigger it to make sense to my readers.
Real interesting. So, I was going to say, what did you have? I guess you probably wouldn't, but did you have a favorite character with this book?
I have a couple, believe it or not, but I think to me still, my intern Bob, who is one of my detectives in the stories, is a lot of fun to watch. So Bob has been a character that I've been writing for years, and I went from writing this very broken man who was just barely making it to now running a city and trying to maintain order and peace, and for him to come to his own powers and kind of step into the role of like, I'm in charge, I'm comfortable, I don't feel like my life is a charity case, was a lot of fun to enjoy to see that character evolve. It's always fun when the characters bring something to the table that you don't expect. I know when writers say that, people's like, that sounds insane. I'm very much aware that I meet my characters on the page. Like, I don't spend too much time writing their backstory. I don't spend too much time writing kind of like encyclopedia of my characters. I tend to call it I go on a date with my characters. So I enjoy finding out who they are on the page as the narrative evolves and things kind of go from there.
In creating these characters in the story, did you go back and look at like the earliest versions of the Little Red Riding Hood story, or did you rely on, the versions that we all know?
I went with the versions that we all know. I didn't want to go too much into old school just because those are a lot more dark. I wanted to keep it very much, oh, she is so sweet and this is what's happening. I wanted that cozy kind of feel in order to twist it around.
Makes sense.
Well, yeah, So what do you hope the reader gets out of the book then? What do you hope that the reader takes away from something like this?
I would love for them, besides A, be highly entertained and have a shocking moment when they realize all the pieces fall together and realize, oh my God, this actually happened. I want them to truly question what they know about themselves and others. Because sometimes we take for granted people when they tell you they're fine at face value. You really don't know what goes on in our head. You really don't know the lives that we live behind closed doors. So this is that story to make you go, oh, that's a lot. And kind of just appreciate people a little more and the things that they do when they're all by themselves.
Right. So you would consider it more of a positive book in a way when it comes to characters?
I hope it is a very positive story. I hope people really do enjoy it and then they find those things very much into themselves. I know the ending had one of those people's like, I can't believe it ended that way. I'm also very much grounded in the fact that the consequences have to take place for our actions. And this is one of those things, when you're writing a serial killer adventure, you have to realize the bad guy still has to pay. It's how the bad guy pays that makes the story very interesting. And that's kind of like a twist that most people were not prepared for.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Wow. So now this book is out now. Will you do something like this again? This kind of style?
Do it a lot? I don't know. The new book that I'm currently working on, I'm also working on another collection anthology. And this one is what is called a cottagecore. I am very new to the genre. It's almost, if you guys have watched Practical Magic, it's stories that takes place in kind of like a very cozy environment, but can take a kind of a spin. I'm planning to take my characters into almost like a vacation camping arena. And also I tend to write a lot of kidnapping, as my husband explains. So kind of going from that, potential love story in a place where you're secluded and confined.
Oh, it sounds fun.
We'll see. I'll let you know.
Yeah. And so what's now you've got a project going on about 1 million books. Maybe explain what this is.
One of the things that happened in the last couple of months, and I know we all are living in a time that things are overwhelming. I don't know, wherever you're at, it feels overwhelming as a society. As a writer, one of the things that hits very home is, what do I add to this narrative? What do I add to this environment? And how do I make it a little better? I am a believer that we all can add something to our place. My goal is always to make things a little better after I'm there for people. So one of the things I decided to do is to truly share some joy if I can, to share some smiles, to share something happy for the world. So my goal is to give away 1 million ebooks of This Intern. And for anybody who's not familiar, Death Intern is my very first book. When I wrote this book, the kind of backstory to give you guys very quickly, I was in a very dark place in my life. I hit that place where I was sick and tired of everything. I wasn't living my purpose. I wasn't living my true passion. And these characters gave me focus. It also gave me an immense way to escape from everything that was happening in my life at the time. And I would love to share that with people. There is no, attachment to it. If you love the story, there's more books behind it you can always get. But it's something that as a writer, I can give words. That's kind of my mission for this year. So my goal this year, I have no idea the how, which is kind of the overwhelmingly scary part, but it's to share 1 million books with as many people as we can touch. If we can do more, that would be amazing. They're available right now. So Death Intern is the book. It's available for free in all your major retailers. So for anybody who likes to shop on, Kindle, if you like your Nuke, whatever it is, it's out there. So you can download it for free and just get yourself immersed for a couple hours and distracted, and hopefully it can bring some smiles to your life.
Well, there you go. Now, do you have, what's your website, social media, and all that? And do you like people to interact with you?
I do. Sometimes I feel like an antisocial person, but I do like people, I promise. So my website is dcgomez-author.com. So you can find me there. You can find my socials in there. I am on Instagram for anybody who's there, Facebook. And I'm still dabbling with TikTok. I'm not a very good TikToker. I can admit that. I'm easily distracted there.
Well, you just need to talk to, Dave there. He's a real TikToker, He's got it going on there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If you might need to give me some pointers then.
Yeah, I'll say. Well, listen, we're going to have all that up on the website along with your book and all the information, and we appreciate you dropping by and telling us what's going on in your life. So for everyone, Cursed by Fur, and it's a Little Red Riding Hood retelling, and it's D.C. Gomez. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Always a pleasure chatting with you guys.
Thanks, DC.
This has been a production of the House of Mystery Radio Show. To find out more about our show, guests, or hosts, go to our website at houseofmysteryradio.com.